name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and this is Guitarist TV. Our special guest today is my longtime friend, Greg Leon, who we have not talked to in years. Greg, before we went on line right now, you and I were talking about, I think the last time I interviewed you was with a phone interview, and I think it was shortly after Kevin Dubrow had passed away. So it's been a number of years, and as you can see, we're no longer doing our interviews by phone. We're doing Zoom, which has been a lot of fun. I have a friend of mine, Jason Lee Beckwith, who plays in Kissed Alive, a great tribute to Kiss. He kind of encouraged me to embrace this new technology. I've been loving it ever since. So I immediately thought I'd want to reach out to you. And when I looked you up on Facebook to see what you were doing, much to my surprise, you had just dropped a new album called Tell the Children. So why don't you talk a little bit about the new album? It just came out. How many years had it been since you put out any new music?
Oh, it's probably 5 or 6 years since I'm like Tom Schultz. About every 5 or 6 years, I reemerge with a brand new thing. And, you know, I mean, the money in the music industry and record sales is not what it used to be. So, you know, what I do is I just come up with 10 to 13 new songs that I think are worthy of putting on an album. I put a band together. We play a bunch of dates. And this time, you know, I've got my own home recording studio. The last 3 records that I've done, I recorded at my home studio, and it's a 24-track tape studio. It's all analog, all the right mics, all the right mic pre's, and the compressors and limiters and all of that stuff. And I got a killer band together. I got one of the world's greatest drummers, Ronnie Siago, who's played on over 450 CDs. He was in Rainbow for a minute with Richie Blackmore. He's still friends with Richie. Yeah, and he's my best friend's friend, and my friend kept telling Ronnie, you got to hear this Greg Leon guy, man. You got to get. So years ago, we went to a NAMM show together, the 3 of us, and I didn't hear from him for a while. And then he came up to the house one day, and we just jammed, just the 2 of us. Wow. And I had a band together at the time, and he kept calling me like every month, when we're going to do that record, when we're going to do a record. Come on, Leon, let's do it. And I'm like, I already got a band. And that band, you know, there was problems with the drummer. He was having problems, you know, marital problems and all this other stuff. And it just was not going in a direction. You know, when you get older, you don't have any time to waste. And Ronnie is such a great drummer, but I didn't have a great bass player. And that's why I didn't call him for a while. I'm thinking, a guy like this that's played with everybody, he needs a world-class bass player. So I went to this jam night one night, right down the street from my house here in La Crescenta. There's this little club, and a friend of mine was putting on I think it was his 50th or 60th birthday party there. And the place was packed, and he goes, bring a guitar, because I want to get you up to play, Greg. So I went up there towards the end. Of course, they never let me go on early because they say nobody will play after that. So, which drives me nuts. And my wife's like, Greg, do we have to stay around till close? You know. But anyway, so I get up and play, and this bass player's killing me. He's got the sound, the feel. He's like totally supporting what I'm doing. And I hugged him afterwards. I go, dude, I don't know who you are, but man, that was awesome, man. It was great. So I guess the next day, they came in there to strike all their equipment, and my name came up, and that bass player goes, who was that last guy that was up here? And they said, that's Greg Leon, you know, and he's been looking for a bass player. He goes, well, shit, I'd love to play with that guy. So they gave him the number. We got together. I called Ronnie, the drummer, because now I got a real bass player. We got together. We came up to my studio. We played for 4 hours, and it was so funny. It was a really hot day, too, a really super hot day. And we walk outside, and we're all just looking at each other, because we all know this was like magical. And I mean, it was like, but I didn't want to be the guy that said we should form a band. So the drummer goes, you know, we should call this a band. We should do this. And the bass player looks, and I go, man, I'm glad you guys said that. And we all hugged each other, and we started rehearsals. And then we got the band ready to start booking some shows, and COVID hit.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like, God dang it. It's always something in the way, you know, it's always something. It's never just a smooth sail, you know? And so, about 2 weeks or a month into the COVID nonsense, you know, I knew from the start that it was all just a big scam and stuff. At least I had a gut feeling on it, because none of it made sense to me. I got a medical background, but anyway, so I called up the guys. I go, you know, it's just the 3 of us. We're all healthy and stuff. Let's just get together. We got these songs rehearsed up. I got a bunch more songs. So, like I did with the Wishing Well record, with Mark Jubé from Survivor, I'd show him a song, we'd work it up. As soon as we got it where it was like, okay, it's good enough to record now, we'd track it. I'd mic everything up, we'd track it, and then we'd move on to the next song. But in the meantime, I'd be, I'd have the bass player come up, we'd lay the bass tracks down, then I'd do all the guitars and the vocals, and have the guys up for the background vocals and stuff. And we move on to the next song. So the next thing you know, I got 13 songs in the can, and me and the guys are looking at each other, pardon my expression, but fuck, this is amazing. So, I had 1,000 of them pressed up, and it was going like crazy. I mean, everybody wanted it. There's nobody playing this kind of music hardly anymore. It's real. I mean, everybody's faking everything, and it's all computer. Sure. Mine's 100% analog, 24-track tape machine, live drums. Everything's the way they did.
Yes, from what you're saying, that you guys are probably all in the same room together when you're recording it, right? Not like.
Well, yeah, we are, but the only thing that actually gets recorded is the drums. We play the bass through a direct box, so the drummer can hear the bass. We have a click track going usually, and then I play through my Kemper, so it sounds like we're playing live, but it's only the drums going to tape. So once we get a good tape with that, the bass goes down. Then the rhythm guitars go down. Then the bass goes down. I double usually the rhythms, sometimes even quadruple the rhythms, just depending on what the song is. Lay the vocals down, do some harmonies. Sometimes I get my wife in there to sing a harmony with me and the guys, and we lay it down, and when it's done, we move on to the next song. And so we had this thing done, and one of my customers is a really good friend of mine. He's a lawyer, a music lawyer, and he goes, man, you should be out there. You shouldn't be doing amp repairs and helping everybody else out. He goes, if you ever need anything, give me a call. So I gave him a call, and I had three record deals offered to me just on me shopping it. And I didn't see any money on the back end with any of these, there was no money up front or whatever. So I asked my lawyer, I go, man, what could you shop this for me? You got the connections, what's really going on. I don't know what's going on in music anymore as far as legally
and deals, record deals and stuff.
Even reading the contracts, they don't make sense anymore like they used to, because there's all these new terms, there's all these new way to get music and stuff. So anyways, my guy started shopping it, and he started getting some hits, and we got a major label behind us. Sony, The Orchard, was interested, and we signed with them, and then they gave it to Bob Frank Distribution, BFD, and now we got the release, and it's out there, and it's selling. I'm getting amazing reviews on it. And, there'll probably be about 85 cents coming to me in a couple of years, but, the way the music is downloaded.
Yeah, beautiful. But, a couple of things with that, you're totally right about the music business. It's totally changed since, when you and I were young. And what's interesting is a guy I interviewed, I don't know if you've heard of the band Van Rez, but great band. But the singer, super talented guy, he's a great songwriter. And he was telling me that, his band made some serious noise, and then things started to go bad, and they thought the band was over. And then right when he thought the band was ready to come to an end, he thinks to sit down to his computer, opens up his email, and literally, without meeting with anybody, he gets an offer from Pavement Entertainment, which is a pretty big label, just through the email. If he wants a deal, he calls them, and of course, the band has been resurrected. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. You hear stuff like that. That's kind of how my life has been. Right when you're ready to give up, things start happening, and hell, I fought the good fight with the music thing for, actually before I got out of high school,
people, just to refresh many people who think you may have heard the name Greg Leon. Greg has been on the music scene for many, many years, so much so that before he went off on his own, there was a brief time. Would you say you were in Quiet Riot, or was it Dubrow?
Well, it started out as Quiet Riot. When Randy left to play with Ozzy, Randy and Kevin called me up, and they asked me if I wanted to be the guy and I said, yeah. I was Randy's favorite guitar player. We were buddies. And I said, but I'm not going to copy Randy's licks, because I'm Greg Leon. He's Randy Rhoads. That'd be ridiculous. So I did it. And before we did the first date, Kevin thought we should just change the name to Dubrow, because Quiet Riot was kind of blackballed because of Kevin. So he thought with a new name, because he was hard to get along with a new name and a fresh start. And we did it, and it was working, but Kevin's just hard to deal with. Yeah. And after, I don't know, a year or so, and a bunch of shows, and him arguing about everything, and he'd have an opinion about things he didn't even know about. And Don Dokken had been after me. Don had been after me, Don Dokken, and he had and for like 2 or 3 years he'd been after me. So he said the magic phrase, "I have European dates." Yeah. I go, "You serious?" He goes, "Yeah, I got Yeah, so right at that point, that was my way out. I said, Kevin, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not going to be a band with arguing and fighting. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
don't see a point in it. And I was the first guy that brought in the Slade to do "Come On Mama" and "All Crazy Now" and "Come On Feel the Noise." My sister Nancy had won the album on KHJ radio here, an
Okay.
AM radio. She was
Wow.
the third caller or something, and I just thought those songs would be perfect for his voice, and they were fun songs. Kevin went nuts when I brought that in there. We got in a big argument, and I think it almost went to blows, and it was just crazy, crazy. And so, anyways, we did a bunch of shows and stuff, and the labels kept coming up to me. All the guys from A&R, they're telling me this. You should get away from this guy, Greg, because nobody's going to sign this guy.
Mm.
Randy was still alive at the time,
Yeah.
and nobody's going to sign him because he's been blackballed. He's too hard to get along with. Nobody's going to deal with this guy. You should move on. So after hearing that from every single person,
Yeah.
and then Don calls me, and it looked like a great opportunity. I went with that. So and then when Randy died, unfortunately, all of a sudden there was all this interest in his old band Quiet Riot, and that's when they changed the name back to Quiet Riot, which was always the idea. Once the deal happened, we'd go back to the name Quiet Riot. So that's that story.
A couple of things there, like you were just talking about your new album and having the new band get together and the chemistry. It seems like so many times in your career, faith has kind of played a role, I mean, in fact, you and I were talking before we went online today, before we got into the interview, and we were figuring out the last time I talked to you was shortly after Kevin had passed away. And I remember at the time we did that interview, you were sharing with me, you said no, unfortunately, that Kevin, you were kind of able to, he invited you, I think, to Quiet Riot Show, and you said you and him were able to kind of patch up your differences. And what a nice way to kind of wrap that part of your life, that this guy used to play with that you'd had problems and issues with for many years. You at least were able to know when he patch things up.
Let me back up. Yeah, let me back up just a little bit. Yeah, there was a big chip on my shoulder towards that guy because he was very mean-spirited.
Yeah.
After I left, another guitar player had left him, and now he's really pissed off. He's spreading ugly rumors that weren't even true, trying to besmirch me. And so years later, I had a big repair shop in Hollywood for a number of years, and in my strip mall where I was a sandwich shop, and I go there to get a sandwich one day for lunch, and Kevin Dubrow's right in front of me, and he's got some woman with him, and I'm sitting behind him, go, what the hell? How in the hell did that's Kevin? And so he turns around and he goes, "Oh my God, Greg Glenn," and he hugs me. I was, "Oh my God, you let me introduce you to," and he's talking all this great stuff about me. And all I'm remembering is the nonsense that happened. Yeah. So I get my sandwich and I go back to my shop and I start thinking about it, and I'm getting mad as hell. I'm going to go there and just, I don't know what happened to me. I just was like, I got to even the score. This is nonsense. I'm going to, set the record straight. So I go back over there and he wasn't there. Thank God.
Yeah.
And so years later, we're doing Rocklahoma, the first Rocklahoma, and I'm in the office getting my money before we play. And Frankie Benelli walks in. I go, "Hey, Frankie, how you doing, man?" I goes, "Kevin here." He goes, "Yeah, he's in the equipment van." So I get my money. I start walking out to their equipment van, and Kevin steps over the bass player. I can't think of what his name was right now, but he steps over him and gets out and comes out and hugs me and starts talking. And he's, one thing after the other, and he apologizes. And, we did the show, and then they came on after us, and we hung out, and he was telling me, "I got to tell you, Greg," and Don Dokken told me the same thing. "The band I had with you was probably the most fun and the best band I ever had, because you never, ever once asked for money. It was always about, put the money back in the band. Let's just do the music." And that's where I've always been. It's always been about the music. It's not about the $100 you're going to make. And now what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Put it in the band. Let's get another costume. Let's get a backdrop. Let's buy new heads for the drummer. Let's get some new tubes for my amp, or, what strings for everybody, whatever. Just put that into, the band to help keep it so we can keep rising up. So Kevin and I played that night, and he had my wife Susan and I right on the side of the stage while he was playing. And as soon as they were done, he comes over and grabs me, all sweaty, which is something that I can't stand somebody sweaty touching me. And, so we go back into their trailer, and we caught up for a while. And the next thing I know, he died. But there was this big, and this is really weird, because there was this big weight lifted off my shoulder by him admitting he was wrong and the things he did to me and said. And it was just like, okay, it's all good now because you
And
apologize, you acknowledge it.
yeah, again, once you heard about his passing, I mean, you must have once again felt like, wow, once again, faith kind of played a funny role in my life there. I mean, and you kind of answered what I was getting ready to ask, which was, I guess it was a matter of, like you said, that he was man enough to apologize. He came up and admitted everything he did. But do you think it was also a case of, people change? He's a little bit older now, or
Well,
do you think it was really the drugs that maybe he was the way he was because of all the drugs he?
oh man, we had so much fun together. I mean, there was nobody more fun than Kevin Dubrow when you were buddies with him.
Yeah,
But if you crossed him, you were dead in his eyes. I mean, it was like he just couldn't move on. He had to try to,
yeah.
you know, put you down.
In fact, I came across the interview that's online somewhere that Kevin did sometime. Talking about how angry he was when Randy left to join Ozzy, and he's like, "Yeah, I was happy for him, but I was really pissed off that he left." Quite right.
Oh yeah, well, we had an axe to grind because Kevin was so mad. We wrote almost all of the songs on their first record. Kevin and I wrote together, almost all of them. I never got any credit for any of that because I left. Because
Yeah,
you walk away, you walk away. I'm like,
yeah,
who knew that
yeah.
Thunderbird would be huge and party all night and all these things like that. And I just had to after the '80s, I had to let it all go because there's nothing
Sure.
I can do about it. And you just got to move
Yeah.
on
And
with
as
your
far
life.
as far as moving forward, I dig the fact that, like you said, the music industry is very different. There are a lot of established bands that aren't even releasing new music. We'll just go out and live on the catalog of music we got, or, we'll put out a 4-song EP. I dig the fact that you're so old school, Greg, that you're still putting out full-length albums.
Yeah, because that's what I love. I mean, I love putting on old Rainbow records or Deep Purple or Foghat or Humble Pie or Deep Purple and all of that old greats of Zeppelin and just getting the whole experience of where they were at the time. And to me, releasing a single, I just don't get it, man. I want to put something, 12, 10 to 30. My last record's got 13 songs on it. We have a drum solo. It's our homage to Led Zeppelin, but it's not copying them at all. It's just a drum solo on the record. My drummer's so good. I go, people need to hear this, dude. Let's do it. I'll write the music and you take it from there. And, so, I have 13 songs
but a couple years ago, Don Dokken released a CD, which like of old demos of his. Didn't you played on some of that, didn't you?
I've never heard it. I don't know. Maybe we did some demos. We did some live stuff in Europe.
Yeah.
I've never heard it, tell you the truth. Don and I still talk every once in a while. In fact, he got in touch with me when Jeff Beck died. And he just, it was like no time had passed. And we're talking about, just stuff like that. Don and I get along great, but I couldn't be in a band for very long. I left again because it just got to be stupid with, non-truths and just stretching the truth and lies and knowing what the bottom line was. And I had a fire under me at the time. I was like the next guy that was going to get picked out of LA. And I didn't want to, I'd rather be in no band than a bad band or be tied with people that I didn't believe. I don't know how to explain it because I don't want to badmouth Don.
No, I got you.
I do like the guy, but there was
just business, right? I mean, that's the best way to put it. And the thing is, you work with these two great singers, Kevin Dubrow and Don Dokken. Don Dokken, he's a warrior. He's still out there doing it.
Yeah.
They have a new album getting ready to drop. And I was curious if you've seen or talked to Don. I know he's been dealing with these health issues. He's got a paralyzed hand, but he's still out there playing. And I gotta, give the man credit for that.
Well, I think it affected his voice too, because I've seen these videos online.
Yeah.
He has no range anymore, but that guy smoked and drank and partied and did not take care of his God-given gift, which is his voice. You, as a singer, you have to take care of that tool. Sure. Because if you let it go to hell, you might never get it back. And he let his go. But I think what exacerbated his problem was the fact that he had that neck operation that ended up paralyzing his hands, because all your vocal cords and all those, it's all connected. And I think that's what happened. And it's sad because Don at one time had a great voice. It was so easy to listen to. And it was so melodic. He had great vibrato. The tone in it was beautiful. He had a gift and, he didn't take care of it, in my opinion.
And here's what I was getting ready to ask you. The fact that you worked with such great singers such as Kevin and Don throughout your career, you think part of the reason you also eventually formed a Greg Leon Invasion was because, in addition to being a great guitar player in your own right, you also had the desire to sing?
I always sang since I was 4 years old. I've always, my dad was a singer. My mother was a singer. My dad was a great singer.
Yeah.
He just didn't know how to get into the music industry. His voice was, if you can imagine, a blend of like Elvis Presley meets Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra and the big band was his era, but he had this special magical thing in his voice, and he was Italian. They got that voice and the vibrato, and I never once heard him hit a bad note singing, or I never once heard him have a bad day. It just blew my mind. He would, like me, he's always singing. He's always singing along to records and stuff, and he had a bunch of parodies that he learned in the war, and they were just hilarious, parodies to those old songs. And but yeah, no, I always sang. I remember walking home from school in it was either kindergarten or first grade, and my aunt Gladys had bought me a little transistor radio, and it was either the Osmond Brothers or it might have been the Jackson 5, but I'm walking home in Glendale, and I'm singing along with it. And I'm thinking to myself, even as a little kid, I could do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. And so I just started singing from that point on. And there was a long time where in school, when, I was auditioning singers for my bands that I was putting together, because I didn't want to sing. I just wanted to play guitar.
Yeah.
And they would all be intimidated. All these kids that thought they could sing, I'd show them what to do here or what that. And I would, fuck it, dude, you just do it, man. I can't sing around you, and my dad just goes, Greg, you've got a talent, just sing.
And now, Greg, as a guy that's been singing all those years, I got to ask you, do you think part of it also is being the guy that writes the songs? I imagine you envision, you hear the song a certain way in your head, whereas maybe if you had another guy singing your songs, you maybe be more critical of how he did it.
Well, you're right, Jason. I hear the voice, the melody, I hear the drums because I'm a drummer too, and I hear the bass. I play bass, and a lot of times I can play a little bit of keyboards, but I'm not good enough to put on a record. But I can write with it. But when I get a keyboard up here on stuff, I tell them what I want, what I hear. Let's try this first. If that doesn't work, we'll go with your ideas. And but I hear the whole picture, and it sometimes drives you nuts when you can't get out of other people what it should be.
Yeah.
And that's why some of these songs on my new record I've had for probably 25, 30 years. Tell the Children's one of my oldest songs, one of the favorite songs I've ever written, but I could never get drummers to lay back the way this song needed, like a Black Sabbath. I
mean, the thing is with that, I hear like Gene Simmons, he's supposedly got he's got like a vault full of demos that, every time Kiss would go and record, he'd try to go back and revisit some of these old songs.
That's smart.
And the thing is, if if it takes you 20 years to get a song out, if it's a good song, it's still a good song, That's
exactly how I look at it.
Yeah. And I was curious, a lot of people have told me that it's a very difficult thing, especially when you're up on stage, to be the lead singer, the front man. You have to remember all your vocals, got to remember all your guitar parts. You're the lead singer, you're the only guitar player in the band. So is that a little, I mean, you've been doing it several years, so you kind of mastered it. But
it's really all I know. And I remember there was a song when I was a kid, and my dad he did play, actually, I shouldn't say he didn't play. He played harmonica and he played piano, but he just told me, don't think about it, just do it. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So when I let that go, I know what the voice is supposed to do. I know what the guitar is supposed to do. But if you just don't concentrate on it and get out, you got to get out of your own way.
Sure.
And that's what I've always done. And another thing that I do that a buddy of mine told me about years ago was to visualize it before a gig, run the whole gig, everything through your mind while you're going to sleep. You wake up in the morning, you get on stage the next day, you've already done it, so you know what to do. Yeah. And I go, well, that's a weird thing. I'm going to try that. And sure enough, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is you can take a guy who's not the world's greatest singer, but maybe because he wrote the song that he's able to sing more from the heart because it's his song. He like you said, he knows how he envisioned how he hears it in his head. You take a guy like David Lee Roth, many people will tell you maybe Sammy Hagar's a much better singer, but you know what? For Van Halen, especially when the band was coming out in 1978, around then, David Lee Roth was great at what he did. I mean,
he's the best.
He was great at that band. I love some of the stuff I love from David Lee Roth, like nonsensical lyrics. They don't really mean anything, but they're so DavidLee Roth.
He was a genius. The lyrics he wrote, what he imparted to the listener. I mean, it was like a party. Come on, let's all go, and the whole world wanted to be on that bus ride with Van Halen, Yeah,
and you talk about Frank Sinatra, a couple things with Frank Sinatra. like David Lee Roth, when he went solo on that first album, you know, with Yankee Rose, he did a great cover of That's Life. And come to my surprise,
Well,
oh, wow, that's a
that's
Frank
Louis
Sinatra tune.
Primo. That's Louis Primo wrote that and made a hit out of that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you know, Frank Sinatra did My Way. I don't think he ever did.
Anyway, okay, maybe I'm getting that mixed up, but I do
It's
know
okay.
that Alice Cooper did a cool cover of Me and You, and I found out Frank Sinatra did that too. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so
Yeah.
great. Let's talk about while I still have you. Let's talk about some of the songs on the new album. In prep review, I went online and I checked out some of these tunes. Now, tell the truth. I love the guitar playing. I love the vocals. Well written song. It sounds like something from the 70s or 80s. And you're writing throughout the entire album. It's like metal and hard rock with great melody.
Yeah, hang on one second. Let me get a copy of it. I got it. The label just sent me a bunch of CDs. Let me go get
Sure.
one so I got it in front of me.
Sure.
That's right here.
There we go. That's it. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
it. So now what'd you say sound like the 80s?
It sounds like 70s and 80s rock, you know what I mean? And all your tunes are well written, got like great melody, hard rock and metal. I mean, I think you're definitely into hard rock and metal. People could categorize.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
hard
not
to
into
pick.
metal. I'm not into metal at all. Not into metal at all.
Well,
It
that's interesting. Maybe just to me, because some of the heavier tunes, you know, um,
yeah.
it's not like pop sounding. It sounds a little heavier. Maybe it's more
Yeah.
closer to hard rock.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
hard melodic hard rock I like to think of it as.
that's a good way to describe it. Because I noticed all the songs. One thing coming through is they've got strong melody. And I'll tell you what I really like was a cool cover was your cover of Stormbringer.
That's not a cover, that's an original song. Only the
I was
name.
going to ask you about that because
It has nothing to do with the Deep Purple's version of Stormbringer.
I was
Nothing.
okay. So, glad you corrected me on that because I was a little puzzled and listening to it and I'm like, is that the Deep Purple song? Because it doesn't really
No,
sound like it. And then I
it's
thought you
it's
might.
nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
Oh, wow. Okay, I love that. Again, giving people something to talk about. Wow. I mean that at least.
I gotta set the record straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because maybe see, not just the title I think confused me, but and maybe this is why you titled it Stormbringer. I don't know. The guitar riff kind of because I'm thinking that's what it was as I'm listening to it, and I was obviously wrong. But I thought, you know, it sounds like the riff, but the song is so different. Yeah.
Yeah, the riff is totally different key and everything. But you know, I am influenced by Ritchie Blackmore.
Yeah.
I think any rock guitar player that plays hard rock,
Sure.
if they say they're not influenced by Jimi Hendrix and Ritchie Blackmore and you know Frank
Yeah.
Marino, they're lying. They're
Yeah. Yeah.
lying. Because those were the guys we were all listening to, and Hendrix, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, another great tune on there is Rainbow Girl. It like just sounds like great 80s hard rock to me.
Yeah, that's a song dedicated to my wife, and it's not about the rainbow in
Yeah, yeah,
Hollywood, but
yeah,
people think it is. I'm going, why the hell would I tell people to get a rainbow girl?
yeah,
My
yeah, yeah,
my wife grew up in a hunting and fishing lodge in Canada,
yeah.
in a
Okay.
place called Prince Rupert, and her folks owned a hunting and fishing lodge, and it was way in the middle of nowhere with a big lake next to it, Rainbow Lake. So all the people in town, like 15, 20 miles away, they called her the Rainbow Girl. When
Yeah,
she'd go into town, there's the Rainbow Girl. And I just, when we went up there, like when we were dating and stuff, and after we got married, we'd always hear, if they'd either call it Sousa, you know, or hey, there's the Rainbow Girl. How's the Rainbow Girl doing? And I just go, man, that is a really cool name. So that's what I wrote the song about, how we met at the House of Blues. And she came backstage to meet me. And, you know, we've been together 22 years now.
wow. Well,
23.
congratulations. I mean, it's
Oh,
one of
thank
the
you.
longer marriages that have lasted, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I'd be lost without her.
And now she's from what I remember, she's really kind of been by your side and helped you in your career. I mean,
yeah.
she helps you like press the CDs and all whatever you need,
Well,
right?
no, yeah. Well, I've done 2 CDs for her too. We're working on her 3rd CD. She's a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a band up in Canada that she toured. I mean, they were. It was called Sousa. She had a few bands, but for 10 years she was on the road up there, doing top 40 and stuff, going from town to town all over Western Canada. And 10 years, I mean, she's probably done more live shows than I have. She's playing 6 nights a week. On the 7th day, they moved
Yeah.
to another town. So yeah, she's a phenomenal lyricist, man. She comes up with the best lines. great storyteller.
Yeah, again, it's funny when you listen to this music for the first time. Well, any music, typically trying to think, what does this remind me of? What does this sound like? And like a lot of times, I'm just the title of the song. I'm trying to think, what's the song about? Rainbow Girl to me, I thought initially, okay, maybe whoever this is about, maybe it's a happy-go-lucky, girl, somebody you'd want to be around. And
good.
Yeah, it kind of is, I guess.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted people to, I shouldn't tell about so many people go, why are you writing about the girls at the rainbow?
Yeah.
A bunch of who was no, but it's not about the rainbow at all. It's just about my rainbow girl.
Music can be a subjective experience when you listen to, and you must have experienced this, I'm sure, Greg, throughout your life, where people come up to you and tell you what they think the song is about, very much like I just did, and you're like thinking, well, that's not what it's about, but hey, if that's what you got out of it, great. And you almost hate telling them what it's really about, right?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, Jason, 100%.
Yeah, and probably I got to say my favorite song on the entire album is Falling to Me. That's like a great radio friendly commercial sounding tune. I think there's a real potential that could be a real radio hit.
I think so too. I think that's a great song. Hold On is another one.
Yeah.
Where is Love? That's another one. I think Rainbow Girl or She Wants Me also.
Yeah.
Those songs could be on the radio, but Falling was definitely written with a commercial bent to it.
Yeah. And I tell you, but one song to me on here that has a kind of a bit of a Dokken vibe, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of your background is a Thrill the Chase.
Oh yeah. But and the only reason you say that is because I use a flatted.
Maybe
that George used a lot of fifth. Yeah. That was their trick to, and every time you do that, everybody, George Lynch, Don Dokken, but no, I had that riff for a long time, and I just think it's a really cool, tough sounding riff.
Yeah, and then Where is Love? Like you mentioned that song to me, that song really takes you on a musical journey. It's all over the place, but it's a fun little track.
Yeah. That was about a friend of mine who was dating a girl, and she basically broke his heart, and oh my God. And I had the song, but I had different lyrics. So my wife and I wrote these lyrics to it. And I won't say the guy's name, but he's another local musician who has a beautiful studio. But and I got very close to both of them. And I heard how he went through that breakup, and the girl ended up shooting the guy. Trying to kill him, the next boyfriend. I mean, it was the craziest thing you ever heard of. And this guy still, his heart was still it was still in his head, the love, he couldn't let it go for a long time. And I would just hear these crazy stories, and how they started from nothing and built this great empire with a recording studio, rehearsal studios. And, but I love the guy, and I don't know what happened to her. I don't even care what happened to her because of the stuff she did to him. It's just that person needs to be away from.
Very, very sad story. But, that reminds me of the original bass player, I think, from Mountain. He got in a scuffle with his wife, and she shot him dead.
Felix Pappalardi,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
Yeah, and so Greg, where can people find you online these days?
Well, GregLeonInvasion.com, and you can buy the record anywhere records or music is sold. You can go online, just punch in Greg Leon Invasion, Tell the Children, and all the other records are available there too. There's 3 other records. And The Wishing Well, The Unfinished Business, and Guitars, Cars, and Women. My first was Guitars, Cars, and Women. But they're all out there. But the new record, you got to buy it, people. It's a great record.
Greg, any upcoming shows in the Los Angeles area?
Yes. We're going to be doing the Whiskey on May 31st. Wow. And it's a Wednesday night. We're playing at 9 o'clock. A friend of mine wanted us on the bill so bad, and we're going to do a video that night, so it should be fun. The label wants some more footage online. We're putting together a video of the making of Tell the Children, because my bass player has a GoPro, and he would bring it into the room, and while I'm mixing or while I'm tracking or whatever, he's got a lot of footage. We just got to put it together like a collage. But we will be playing live our first show. Actually, it's our second show. We did a show at the Universal Bar and Grill, and people went crazy. I mean, it was just like hysterical because nobody is playing music like this. That really just, like old Van Halen or Deep Purple or Humble Pie or Led Zeppelin, where it's a real thing with just great grooves and
Wow, wow.
You know,
Well,
people
Greg,
are hungry for that,
it was
hungry for
great
this.
catching up with you. I promise not to allow so much time to pass between our next interview. In fact, based on what you just told me, I'd love to have you back after you do the show at the Whiskey. And if you would like, and we talked about the new video that you guys are going to be shooting that night, maybe you could bring on your bandmates as well. I'd be up for that if
Yeah.
they're interested. So let's keep in touch, and I'll let you know when this gets
Okay.
posted, probably in about a week's time. And
All
feel
right.
free to share it. So you take care, my friends. Great catching
You
up.
right back at you, Jason. You take care, man. Rock on, everybody.
Bye bye. Loving the new Greg Leon album. So go out and buy it. Take care,
Right
Greg.
on. Thanks.